Can you believe that motherfucker had the balls to lead a coup on Presidente Olmec? Bitch, don't you know about my temple guards? LOL. Oh well. Chimerica is still immersed within a considerable amount of strife, what with the terrorist attacks by the deposed death squads, and, along the way we've invoked the ire of the United States of America itself. Hopefully Presidente Olmec will continue to guide this country to a golden age of awesome sauce, but I recognize the possibility that it might not actually occur. We're going to continue the rest of the rainy season here by having a chat with our ministers and getting a touch on how they feel. Let's, for example, consult Liliana here on improvements to infrastructure. Centuries ago, our Mayan ancestors used to pray, "Give us good roads, straight, beautiful roads." Here we are in the late 20th century and our prayer is still the same. Poorly repaired roads mean time wasted in inefficient transport and money lost to frequent truck repair. Let's consult the other ministers regarding this, how about? Invest in a modern economy through increased spending on improvements to infrastructure. The electrical system depends on decades-old technology, requires continual patching and tinkering. The result, frequent power shortages. The current is sometimes so weak many industrial machines cannot operate, and other times the system shuts down its entire... Candlelight. Plan infrastructure improvements that benefit both export producers and the poor. Chimerica could use better roads. The only road the dictator kept repaired was the one to his house on the beach. The roads that serve the producers of export crops are already the best we have. Out in the mountains where the campesinos live, roads are often rocky dirt paths that turn into rivers of mud for the entire rainy season. How do you feel? Oh, you feel the same way, so if we were tallying votes, it'd be 2 for investing in a modern economy through increased spending on improvements to infrastructure. What precisely did you want? Pretty much the same thing. Sure, we'll go with that then. And external affairs, Minister Man. I don't think we'll be talking about aid from socialist countries. I think we've got a feel on how that's going to work. Right-wing insurgency, we could chat about that. Let's talk about international relations with the man who handles this shit. A dangerous doctrine has taken hold at the UN Cultural Organization, UNESCO. It is called the New World Information Order. Proponents want to draft codes telling journalists what to say and how to say it. They have all sorts of fancy arguments in favor of the notion. What it really amounts to, however, is a dangerous legitimization of censorship. Oppose efforts to codify the New World Information Order. Oppose efforts. Support the New World Information Order. Why do third world nations generally have such poor reputations? Partly because the organizations we all get our news from are based in first world countries. If Western newspapers and TV cover us all at all, they show only negative things. We never hear about Africa, for example, unless there's been a coup, a famine, or a massacre. What about all the success stories? UNESCO proposes a new code of journalist behavior called the New World Information Order. Inaccurate and biased reporting will be boycotted. Reporting originating from third world countries themselves will be encouraged. Yeah. Once again, Manuel, the champion of liberty. Although I'm surprised he actually went that way, but then again, I'm not really surprised he went that way. His argument, based upon what we know of his background and history, it makes sense that he'd argue that. I'm going to oppose efforts to codify the New World Information Order, but hey, he tried. Uh-oh. This is what happens whenever you piss off the United States. I regret to inform you that my government will temporarily be unable to authorize economic assistance to Chimerica. The second year of your presidency, the rainy season ends, and the harvest season begins. Soldiers armed with submachine guns surround the National Palace. Over the radio, rebels announce a coup d'etat against your government. The telephone rings. edged with a hard new boldness. The voice of Francisco Rosario Rosales barks your name. Presidente, you have failed the nation and betrayed our people's trust. At the airport, a plane waits to take you to anywhere you desire, so long as it is away from Chimerica. This is your last chance for a peaceful end to your presidency. Will you go quietly, or must we stain the carpets of the palace with the blood of fools? Presidente Olmec will not tolerate your bullshit. Bulletin from the office of the Presidente of Chimerica. Early today, certain traitors led by Francisco Rosario Rosales attempted to take the national palace by force of arms. Crowds of angry citizens soon formed throughout the capital. Others poured in from the countryside, eager to demonstrate their support for our Presidente. Loyal troops quickly cleared National Square of mutineers and retook control of the airport. The leaders of the failed coup are reported to have escaped into exile. Viva Chimerica! The ambassador to the United States of America is like, oh shit! I thought that was gonna work! Well, we kind of botched that one, guys. Let's try this shit again. Do you see why we need the army buffered? Presidente Olmec still large and in charge, motherfuckers. The continued military buildup in Chimerica poses a threat to peace throughout the hemisphere. It compromises, indeed, the security of the United States itself. Somehow, we urge you to reconsider a policy that can only be interpreted as a gesture of hostility. Now, as awesome as our army and our people have been, I'm just saying, if the United States of America really wanted to do something about us, they probably could. Because they have fuck tons more money to blow on training intelligence operatives to manufacture coups and other bullshit. They could fail, and it could publicly humiliate the United States, but that has never stopped America from trying. I'm just saying. I concur. You want to take away your economic aid? Fine. Drive me towards the USSR and Cuba. As you wish. Bitch. So, that's 2 folks down off the Popular Stability Party. Let's take one final look at Francisco Rosario Rosales. Popular Stability, scion of one of the wealthiest families of Chimerica, has extensive holdings in cotton and cattle. Grandson of Emilio Rosario, a long-ruling Presidente overthrown in the 1948 coup. Outspoken, temperamental, and ambitious, eager to resume the family tradition of service and power. They have long advocated encouraging direct foreign investment in agriculture, strengthening of armed forces without excessive foreign assistance, measures to stimulate industry, and maintenance of close ties with the United States. Whew, now we can actually take a breath, folks. We can actually take a breath. Oh, man. Debate continues in Paris on the New World Information Order. The goal is to create standards of conduct for journalists writing about nations like ours. Someday, it is to be hoped that an international media will cease portraying third world nations as backward cesspools of ignorance, poverty, and disease. On the Fontanoy, the Association of Concerned Journalists held a press conference in front of UNESCO headquarters. New World Information Order is a dagger thrust straight at the heart of freedom, charged editor Jean-Jacques Lescribe. UN resolution condemning Cuban involvement in Bokutta was defeated by a wide margin. among the countries falling into step were many whose anti-interventionist rhetoric has turned the UN into something of a third world propaganda forum. Oh, USA yesterday. So how are we doing here in our progress charts? Oh, yeah. Yeah. We've sustained a lot more economic losses due to warfare. And we've taken some military expenditures as well. In exchange, we have ourselves a stronger military, which may or may not have saved my ass. Twice. Social spending, expenditures for infrastructure has sharply increased. And expenditures for healthcare and education have slightly lowered. Infant mortality continuing to decrease. United States mortality is continuing to increase. Land distribution, the land owned by the wealthiest 5%, is decreasing. We no longer have any land held by the state. Food crops, production of corn and beans is still decreasing. The percent of population eating less than the UN National Standard Net Nutritional Requirements is, what is that, the 60, 65-ish range? Export crops, cotton price, continuing to slip. You fuckers need to stop producing cotton, okay? It's no longer working. It's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. Hard currency reserves are still good. Still good. The amount of aid. Yep. United States cut us off because it's pissed at us. When you make the U.S. mad, they cut away your money. That's why so many people can't afford to make the United States mad, because they cut away his money. I mean, you can see what happened to Cuba. After so many years of giving the United States the middle finger, the United States was like, fine, cross our arms, you can get shit from us. And I can't really testify to the conditions of Cuba. Probably because I don't have any good information about it. All of the news that I've had fed to me over the years is kind of American generated, you know, and while there are plenty of information sources these days, like say the Associated Press, they've been around for a while too. Local media, state media, national media, kind of does not portray Cuba in a friendly light. Well, that was fun. Good talk, everyone. Didn't matter at all. My fucking country. Well, thankfully USSR and Cuba are sticking with us. The amount of money that we loan from international banks and institutions has sharply decreased, coinciding with that as well. Infant mortality is good, but the fact that folks just aren't getting to eat enough, that's bad. That is bad. Oh well. Still in office. I still have a chance. Sub-Commandant, what's up, man? Yes. Yes. Won't even consult Manuel, just saying, yeah. Eventually I'm gonna say no, but for the time being it's a definite yeah. Eventually I might say no. It depends on whether I get the chance to say no. People keep gunning for me, man. They just keep coming. They just keep coming. Shit. Rights activists, how do you feel? Sure. Sounds good. Just touching base with people, just touching base. Gotta touch base sometimes, guys. Make sure you know what's happening with your peeps. Not the landless laborer, though. That's just gonna depress me. Banker, how are we doing? Good. Sounds good to me. Alright. What other things can we consult about? Okay. Select an issue. How do you feel about this, Ignacio? The North American refusal to send any further aid is the fault of our own misguided policies. We must undertake a thorough review of our ties to the socialist world, the cult of militarism, and the radical economic measures that seem to have frightened them off. Ignacio, you understand. We can review this if you want. We need this shit, bro. I guess it's a choice between what we need more. Military or money food. How do the rest of you feel? Money food? Money food. Fuck them. It seems it was too much to hope for that the North American government would support our policies. What else could be expected from the government that put the farsantes in power and kept them there for so long? Refused to knuckle under to U.S. economic imperialism. I'm siding with Captain Badass on that one, and ain't a motherfucking thing gonna change. I immediately retract what I was about to complete. I'm going to side with it for now. Nunez frowns. When one is between the sword and the wall, one has little choice but to do as the sword commands. It shall be as you say, Presidente. How do you feel about aid from socialist countries? Though the choice is made difficult by the insurgency, we must resist the temptation to let the Cubans fight it for us. We cannot allow America to become yet another battleground for the people's wars. Under the present circumstances, the acceptance of aid from either USSR or Cuba would simply be too provocative. Yup. Yep. Dang it! Here we are, a nation of only 4 million people, faced with terrorists funded by the nation with the strongest army in the world. The Cubans and Soviets have years of experience defying the machinations of the imperialists. How can we refuse their generous offers of assistance? Because we're trying to maintain a delicate balance here. This is something that I may or may not have picked up in previous games. May or may not include Tropico. It's difficult, and it can really come back to bite you in the ass. But playing the field and making sure you don't do enough to piss off anyone. And when you're a tiny fucking nation, you would think that's easy to do. In terms of like superpowers. Like, why does the United States or the USSR really care? But somehow they find a way to care. Oh, this is a tough one. I kind of regret bringing this situation to a head. If I accept this, does this mean that I won't get any aid from them at all? Like, any further? Does that just mean, like, immediately cutting the well dry? Like, from this day forward, no more aid? Or will it not escalate beyond a certain level? Like, they'll still maintain what we're doing? Because that's a big deal. I need to know that. This fucking country can't fucking fly solo, okay? We're just little old Chimerica with a population of South Carolina. The population of South Carolina is a nation. Oh God. Ah. Many of my ministers in the government themselves are against the idea. But again, many of my ministers in the government wanted us to decrease the amount of aid that we were giving to the military as well. The amount of military increasing so that we wouldn't defend the United States. If we're going to fully commit to this shit, which I think I did, then we need to... You know what? That's right. United States did support the Farsante government, kept them in power for an extended period of time, while that son of a bitch ravaged our country, treated the entire account of the country as his personal expense account. Only infrastructure he cared about was maintaining the roads between his seat of government and his fucking house on the beach. Everything has its price. Just about any living human being has an ulterior motive, especially considering great and powerful countries. The United States would argue that we have forsaken it, that we refuse to toe the line, and that our military represents a grave threat to United States security. They bully us with the economic aid, severing it as a means of... No. I am sorry, moderates, but one of the many risks of towing the line is that you can get caught in the middle with no allies to call your own. True, if you choose to pick a side, you could be sacrificed. A piece on the playing board, a pawn. That is what we would be in the fight between socialist and capitalist nations. I guess I'm having a hard time deciding on this. Not because of any political affiliation on my part. In terms of, like, I'm trying to think of what would be the best course of action for the game, and I guess I'm getting into, like, a whole role-playing mood here. Or now I do feel like, fuck the United States. As I sit within the nation itself, as a citizen. Registered voter. Fuck my country. Fuck yeah. Manuel, I swear to God, you're gonna have to be my personal bodyguard, man. You're gonna have to be my personal bodyguard. If our government is to succeed, Nunez says diplomatically, we must each be ready to compromise. We will defer to your judgment in this matter with the understanding that at other times you would choose to heed our advice, as you have. Message from the United States Ambassador. The recent decision to accept military aid from the enemies of freedom has provoked intense concern in Washington. Soviet military presence so close to our borders represents a direct threat to our national security. We hope that your government will reconsider its policy in this matter. I'm sure you do. Well, you should have thought about that before you decided to be assholes, huh? direct threat to our national security, national security, national security. We're not. Listen. When fucking nuclear missiles get fucking installed in goddamn America, that's when you have a national security problem. Until fucking then, I mean, dude, have you not been watching the own movies that Hollywood's been releasing over the years? Fucking Soviet paratroopers could fucking fly in. And it still wouldn't matter. Wolverines! Come on. Come on. Deplorable decision to accept military aid from communists. Shall we thus willingly become the dupes of Moscow and its henchmen, as opposed to willingly becoming the dupes of Washington and its henchmen? LOL. To get help building our defenses is only prudent. If the U.S. Marines invade again, as they have so many times in the past, this time we will be ready. Hardliners within the administration insist that Chimerica looks well on the way to becoming another armed outpost of communism on our doorstep. In their view, the president has shown admirable restraint. We made serious choices. But again, I always do. Because I'm Grimith and I'm a serious man.